Hey everyone, Margarita here. I want to talk in this video today more about how long all of this harassment, bullying, all these criminal actions that have been taken against me for the last several decades, the people who are behind all of that, and tie it into what is going on in the current as well. So I will be posting an additional video about this on my TikTok page, and I'm just going to post this one on my YouTube and my TikTok. But there will be an additional video going up on TikTok because I'm going to take it a step further when I'm done filming this. But what I want to talk about is how this large group of corrupt officials has been harassing me for decades, along with my mother. At the same time all of this has been going on, I've been building success from the ground up, literally building wealth from the time I was a teenager. And I am 100% self-made, self-built, self-taught. So when you go back to me being a teenager, yes, I was in school. Yes, I graduated high school. And then I graduated from Dorsey Business School, and later down the line took some college classes in my mid-20s. But by the time I had done that, I was already so much further ahead than the rest of the world in where their level of knowledge was with how the world works and how to generate income and build wealth and how the world actually works. I was further ahead with my own knowledge, with me being self-taught, the amount of life experience that I had, that there was no reason for me to continue going forward with college at that point. I was already way further ahead than what any college would ever be teaching anybody. So I figured that out fairly quickly. And I kind of knew, just even going into it the first semester or two, I was already aware right off the rip that nobody was going to be teaching me anything that I was going to be benefiting from, even if I had stayed doing this for several years. So because I have not lived in the matrix in a very long time, um, over 13 years for sure, but from the very beginning, my thought process and how I view how things work and the knowledge that I acquired in my actual life experience, it taught me, way further ahead than the rest of the population. The information that I have, my level of knowledge, isn't actually being taught anywhere. So I learned all of this from my mother being an extreme narcissist, having Munchausen by proxy, causing all these serious problems in my life from behind the scenes, the delusional phone call placing, all the lies and delusions she's told these hundreds, if not thousands, of people about me every step of the way. All of those behaviors against me, all the criminal actions against me, because even when I was a teenager, she was using large agencies to help her carry out the harassment against me. Even back then, that is what caused me to begin to learn things differently than my peers, because I didn't have the same options available to get through life as the rest of the population. And that's still the current situation today. And now I'm 41. So this all started when I was a teenager, to the degree where she was using other large agencies and people to harass me by placing delusional phone calls. Although she was already doing this when I was in about kindergarten or so, and continued it forward, but she was only using my teachers until I was in high school, and I was about 15 or 16 when she took it a step further and started using police officers, different police departments, and then it became other large agencies after that. So because all that happened to me, I was forced to learn things differently, because I'm being constantly harassed all the time, 24/7, even though there was longer periods of time in between each escapade, just enough to keep the harassment going, enough to where I'd stay in a chaotic cycle, chasing my tail in circles, picking up the pieces from the last catastrophic disaster. And then another one would happen, but they were much more spaced apart a long time ago. And since I became injured in 2018 to the current day, that's where it became very excessive. And more nonstop, and the escapades and the crimes and the harassment, everything just became closer and closer together. Extreme amounts of it all back to back to back. During the time I was fighting to stay alive for several years without help from the medical system. So initially it was not as noticeable. That's why it took me so long to piece all this together. So if you've watched some of my other videos, I do talk about this in a different video, that it wasn't as noticeable for some time because this was all spaced further apart. Although I was always aware there was an issue and that my mother was placing delusional phone calls. I was aware of that. I just didn't know to what degree. It took me going through life as an adult, me being on my own, and then experiencing all these additional problems that regular people don't experience, and then piecing it together with what I already knew she was doing prior, and kind of living out each set of circumstances where she would create a catastrophic event. It would completely disrupt my life and wipe me out. And because I went through a lot of that, that's how I have the different answers that I have today. Because even initially, I wasn't able to just, let's just say I was in elementary school or middle school. I wasn't able to just come up with a life plan or be what I want to be when I grow up or whatever. That was not an option because I had to accommodate being constantly criminally harassed and bullied by teachers and students. And at the root was my mother placing these delusional phone calls to my teachers. So when you're in a predicament like that and they make it impossible for you to get through your day, and the deranged lunatic is lying to all of these people every step of the way, and then let's just say they do confront me, some of them did confront me about whatever lies she was telling them, and some of them didn't say anything at all. But when people were confronting me, then they didn't want to believe me if I responded with, well, she's lying or this or that. They didn't want to believe me. And that's why she was always laughing and making snood remarks, saying, oh, everybody always believes the mother. Like she'd literally say that all the time. And it's because she was getting away with doing this from behind the scenes. So growing up and going through school, it wasn't an option for me to say, oh, I want to be let's say, teacher. I want to be a teacher when I grew up. That wasn't an option. I didn't get to choose something I wanted to do and then carry out the plans, even in high school. Everything was constantly disrupted, all these different catastrophic events, all the harassment by her placing those delusional phone calls to those teachers was causing problems with me passing certain classes or getting a certain grade, or even it came down to me even attending some of these classes, because by the time I was in high school, here my mother was trying to have me deemed mentally incompetent because this would have given her access to the trust fund. Remember, so you'd have to watch several of my videos to understand all this to this degree. But she was trying to deem me mentally incompetent as a teenager, and I was the exact opposite. So she had to farm these delusions along the way. And eventually that led to her trying to put me in a mental hospital, and then her pulling me from high school to go attend some program that I think the oldest girl there was 11. It was between 5 and 11-year-olds. And I was older than her. I was in high school. She was pulling me from high school to attend a program that was never needed for somebody like me. She was doing it to cause all these additional problems, and then eventually succeeded at getting me thrown out of high school indefinitely. And she attempted numerous times. So no matter how you look at this, I was never in a position to be able to say I wanted to be something when I grew up and then be able to carry out those plans. I wasn't even able to carry out the basic general curriculum for a high school student due to the harassment, the bullying, and the crimes and the delusional phone call placing. So I already knew that along the way. I had several things in mind. And one of the things I had long-term was I needed to learn a greater degree of Spanish because I always knew some. And then I did take 3 years in high school. But I knew that if I learned Spanish, I could take that into many fields, many different avenues, and it would benefit me for life. So that is something I did try to pursue at one point, and I was correct about that. I did end up using it quite a bit as an adult once I was off on my own, and it didn't matter which industry I was working in. It did come in handy. It did make me more money in the long run. But remember, I've been self-employed for a very long time. Doesn't matter. It still produced that extra income for me. Now, with everything else that I had ever thought that I wanted to do, it didn't matter. It wasn't an option to carry any of it out. And every time I'd switch to accommodate the crimes and the harassment and the bullying, then I would, in my mind, I wouldn't like be saying this out loud to people, but in my mind, I'd then have another idea like, okay, well, then I'll do this instead. What I was planning had to keep changing because of this harassment. So then I would, in my mind think, okay, well, I'll do this and then I'll do that. It doesn't matter. None of that was ever able to be carried out because the harassment was so extravagant. The bullying was so extreme. Those delusional phone calls placing to all these teachers, and these teachers just believing this deranged lunatic like it was nothing. No one wanting to believe anything I'm saying because, oh, what? Everybody always believes the mother? Right. So I wasn't able to from the beginning, be able to carry out plans like a regular person from the very beginning. So that's never been an option for me. So going forward, after she succeeded at getting me kicked out of high school, I then enrolled. I was already at the same job for over a year, and I had two jobs at that time, and I was already making great money, and I was still a minor. But I then enrolled in a way, it was like an online, school was online different back then. So this would have been in the year 2001. So I ended up graduating high school through the mail. So I did a program where this was not normalized back then. People did not generally do this back then. But that's how I graduated school, and I kept my same couple jobs that I'd had for some years, or I ended up having them for some years. Kept those jobs and knew I wanted to continue making the money that I was making because I knew that was my only ticket out by breaking free, getting my own home. Right when I turned 18, I knew that was my ticket out. So that's what I did. That's how I went about things. And then even the first year I was in my own home, I was still a full-time student, and I still worked full-time and had a baby and a mortgage, and I did all of this by myself. So my oldest kid's dad was with me for the first year of his life, but he was using more resources than he was bringing in and basically just mooching off me. And I saw right away. So I knew he wasn't going to be in the picture very long. I just needed to break free initially, and going forward, whatever happened didn't matter. Even if I never got $1 from him, it wasn't going to matter. I would have still gotten further just with him out of the picture and me being on my own, which is exactly how things went. So I was never able to, live the same life as everybody else. The information that I have regarding the future of our planet and like how everything works in the world and how to generate income and build wealth, like my knowledge is so extensive that all these things that have been going on in the world, I view them totally different than everybody else. I have a different level of knowledge because of how I was forced to learn things. And then at the same time, yes, I've been building wealth since I was a teenager. My only issue is I'm not where I'm supposed to be because of all of the criminal harassment and the repeated wipeouts and my mother using large agencies to harass me to the degree where I was forced from different homes. Some I've owned, two of them I rented, three I owned. This one I did get to come back to. But it was those delusional phone calls that caused all of those serious disruptions. So all of this time I've been dealing with this. Right when I turned 18, I moved into my first home. This was going on immediately within a couple days of me living in the home. The delusional phone call placing went on immediately, and it continued on from that point forward. So if I had never been disrupted all this time, I definitely would have been a millionaire about 10 years ago. And I definitely lost over $3 million from the time I was 18 to the current day. And that's due to these crimes, these escapades, and everything that's gone on. Now, I want to talk more a little bit about the food assistance program, the Section 8 and whatnot. I'm going to get into this in the next video that I film, and I'll probably only release it on TikTok because this actually doesn't apply to me. Even though I am permanently disabled, I've been for some years now. I spent almost 200 grand out of pocket on my own treatments to keep myself and my son alive. And I don't receive child support. I don't receive assistance. I never got any compensation from anybody who has caused my injury or exacerbated the injury, or participated in some of the crimes which had prevented our treatment, causing further disability, further problems. I haven't been compensated $1 from anyone in any direction during any of this. And so I'll talk some more about some of this in other videos. Some of this is already up, but I'm not going to be receiving any money. And I'm still permanently disabled. I know you can't tell by looking at me, or people think because of the level that I'm on in life, what I have or what I look like, that can't be my situation. Well, that is my situation. And it's not going to change. I had to go through all those treatments within a 6-year period to get me where I am. And I was in a fight to stay alive for about 3 solid years. And so was my younger son. So with all of that, there's all these issues that's going to be coming up here with all these people losing their benefits. And if anybody should be having benefits, I should be at the top of that list because of everything that I have went through. And I'll get into this in the next video that I do. But I only received a food stamp card for like a 6-month period when I was about 21 years old. And like another, I don't know, it was probably another year or so after the 2013 escapade that my mother caused, and I was completely wiped out. I had enough money to cash out on a house, fully paid for in cash. And her escapades and the agencies who helped her completely wiped me out down to nothing. So I did receive the benefits for about a year during that time frame. But I was never on them long term. They're not meant to be on long term. And I would have never needed them in the first place if my mother wasn't in the background placing all these delusional phone calls, creating all these problems. So I will get a little bit more into that. But if I can do what I've went through, what I've been through, the amount of time that I've lost, the amount of restarts that I had to start over from nothing and rebuild. And I did this by working, doing all the footwork and working from the ground up and building success from the ground up, building businesses from the ground up. And I've always had numerous streams of income since I was a teenager. That is a part of how I built. So that's always been my situation. And if I could fight for my life for 3 years, be completely incapacitated, never receive $1 from anybody during any of this, or even in the current day, and suffer the effects that I've suffered from, and still have the home that I have left and be where I am today, then all of these people who are about to have all these issues, they shouldn't be having these issues. Because I guarantee the majority of these people have not been through not even 10% of what I've been through. And it's my own work that has provided me everything I've had in life and where I am in the current day, and saved our lives and kept us alive, because our injuries are something that should have been treated in the hospital system. It was an extreme medical emergency. You cannot go without oxygen to the brain. We were left without oxygen to the brain for years, literally years. We were in an extreme state of suffocation for about 3 years, massive brain swelling continuously, no break from any of this, 50, 60 severe symptoms at once. And so I went through all of that at the most extreme point. And then even then, it wasn't just all over at the end of that 3 years. I spiraled to where I am in the current. Still extremely fragile, living a modified life, can't have exposures to any types of chemicals, toxins, gases, and whatnot, due to the brain injuries, the brain exploding internally, and the protective barrier being blasted away that protects, one system, all these chemicals, toxins, and gases in the outside air from getting into one system. That was disintegrated within my entire brain and in my son's brain initially. Once we reach a certain degree in treatment, a lot of that brain tissue was regrown with that treatment. So if you watch some of my other videos, you'll understand this a little better. But if I could go through what I went through and what I'm still going through, and this is going to go on for the rest of our lives, and we still don't receive benefits from anyone, no money in compensation whatsoever. And at the same time, I have a lot of haters, a lot of people who are jealous of me, jealous of what I still have left, jealous of what I've accomplished with all of this going on. With these escapades, crimes, and wipeouts going on, I still have all these issues because I'm ahead of other people in life. And that's because of the amount of time I spent working and building success, building wealth from the time I was a teenager. I did not live directly inside the matrix. I saw a bigger picture view of how the world worked, and everybody in America mostly is in within this little matrix circle, and everybody's operating within it. And it's the system is not built to get out of. So all these people follow what they think they're supposed to do in their life and think that that's how you succeed, and that's just not reality. Colleges are not teaching you how to be successful or how to build wealth. But what I did is I jumped straight over that at a very young age. That's why I owned 2 homes by the time I was 23. So, I started off with a lot of problems as a young child, as a teenager, and then all these problems. I could see all this from back then, jumped straight over it, and lived outside of the matrix. A long time ago, was already starting to break free from it. At a way younger age. I mean, it was probably the early 2000s when I started to break free from it and completely done with the majority of the matrix by 2012. So other people don't have the knowledge that I have, and they don't understand how to do what I do or build success, or how somebody can not that I don't have any college, because I did some college, but not have a 4-year degree somewhere or higher. But yet all these years, so over 2 decades here, I have been successful all of this time. Even at 18 with a mortgage, I still didn't have any assistance. I was a single mom, no assistance, until I was fired for being pregnant with my daughter at age 21. Even then, I only had those benefits for 6 months, and I didn't get all that much money. It wasn't a lot. But I'm not a part of any of that. But people, they don't see my view. Nobody else has ever had to walk in my shoes with the amount of crimes that have been committed against me, with what all has gone on, and the destruction that I've been through, all these constant wipeouts every step of the way, and then still manage to somehow keep building success, because I've always had a really good job, if not, more than one job, or it'll be a job and I own a business, or I have a job and I own real estate and a business. So it's usually numerous streams of income. Some of them are more of a longer term situation, and then some are more of a shorter term situation, depending on what I'm doing or what I've done along the way. Like I said, I've always had numerous streams of income. Now, I had done that all by myself without help from anybody. So if I was able to do that all along and carry my own weight all along with what I dealt with growing up, being I was basically forced into becoming an adult and purchasing my own home to get myself to safety. And I was never going to break free from my deranged mother and the crimes she was committing and the harassment and all these problems, which now looking back on it, now that I have it all pieced together, know what I know, I never actually broke free, even though there was no contact, there was no relationship. She was doing all this behind the scenes, carrying all this out from behind the scenes every step of the way, all this time. And none of these people that are her friends and family, the people she knows, the people she's telling all these delusions to about me, no one was ever aware that there was not a relationship between us, that I had cut all contact, that I'd been 100% self-made, self-built from the time I was a teenager. She didn't tell anybody that. So, in the last several years, that's where I've fully been piecing all of this together. It did take me some years to gather the information that I have today to fully piece it together. But the reason for all this was so she could fraudulently gain access to the trust fund that is being hidden from me. And she has fraudulently gained access to some of it and is still attempting to gain access to what is left. And that is the reason for all of these crimes, all this harassment, every step of the way, all these years, all these decades. That's the motive for everything that's been going on all this time. So, I will get into more of, what I was talking about regarding benefits being cut and such. I'll do that in the next video because it doesn't really affect me one way or the other, but I am going to say certain things, and I'm sure it's going to make a lot of people mad, because people just feel entitled. Times have changed. People at some point decided that these benefits, that it's an option to work and that you just get to collect these benefits and have as many kids as you want and stay home. So I'm not sure where that fully took over to that degree, but it did, and I never really stopped to think about it. But there's a lot of that going on. And then this all ties in with my injury, what I have going on in the current day, picking up the pieces to the over $100,000 in damage to my home, which was done by Section 8 tenants and someone who gets a bridge card and just thinks that she's supposed to keep having kids with no income and no plan to ever provide for herself or her kids. So this is a part of all that, because that all happened due to my deranged mother and her crimes and the crimes of the agencies and people that she used to help her cause all these problems and force me away from my home when I was already living in a medical emergency, when then a community emergency happened, when a 15,000 gallon gasoline leak happened. So that was the reason all of the problems I experienced with the Section 8 tenants and everything they caused, and those pieces that I'm still currently picking up, that I've been picking up for almost 2 years now, that's all caused by the crimes, because at no time should I have ever been forced away from my home. So I am going to talk more in the next video about all that. But what I think is crazy is the fact that all of these people have helped my mother commit these crimes against me. I 100% worked for everything I have, built success from the ground up, literally from the time I was a teenager, kept getting wiped out by my deranged mother and these large agencies chasing me, harassing me, causing problems, and kept it all going repeatedly. There was all these repeated catastrophic events, repeated wipeouts, me having to rebuild from nothing, meaning, yes, I always had numerous streams of income, but then I'd have to start over literally at zero, or in a new home with zero, or in a new car at zero again. When I should have never, there shouldn't have been any restarts, any wipeouts. Normal people are allowed to just live their lives. They're not disrupted repeatedly in this manner. But I had done that every step of the way, and then having to rebuild from literally nothing and then go back. And then here I am going back to like waitressing or bartending, and then running my entertainment business, and then investing in real estate long term. So all of these would have to be restart at zero, restart at zero. There shouldn't have been any restarts. These were all crimes. This is all criminal harassment. These agencies are committing crimes. The people who work for them are committing the crimes. And so is my mother, with all these delusions coming out of her mouth about me. So with all that going on, it caused me to literally, instead of keep building on what I have and keep building on what I have and building and building and building and building, here I'm getting wiped out down to nothing over and over. And then, the amount of time I spent waitressing and bartending would have been less years. I spent a total of 20 years in restaurants. It would have been less time total. In the end, if I had never been disrupted. And then the real estate investments, I wouldn't have been forced from the first home to be in the second home, to end up in the mortgage crisis. And then the 2013 escapade wiped out what I would have cashed out on that home. That would have been all cash. And then there would have been another home probably around the time I bought this home in 2017. Those two homes would have been all cash, or would have been another home and then this home. Either way you look at it, those were all disrupted. And so that's caused like a property loss of about, I'd say, 4 or 5 homes in total, completely gone because of the criminal harassment and the wipeouts. So if that was not disrupted, then I would be numerous more properties deep than what I'm already currently at. I wouldn't still be in this home that I'm in, that I've had for 8 years. I'd already be in a different home, and probably the one after that, actually. If nothing had ever changed, if nothing had ever been disrupted, I would have just kept building and building. With my entertainment business, I would have been retired from that business 5 to 10 years ago, like 100% retired 5 to 10 years ago. And the reason I had to do each line of employment, or each business, or each industry, whatever, the reason that I had to be in each one longer was due to the criminal harassment and all of these problems that my mother was creating from behind the scenes, because then I had to rebuild from nothing again. Again, all of my life plans have been in order since the time I was a teenager. I've been building wealth, building success from the time I was a teenager. So none of this should have ever been disrupted. I would literally be a millionaire already. And this is all criminal harassment. So the fact that I've been out here as a single woman, a single mother with no help, no child support, and then eventually ended up at a restaurant which had the ventilation system problem, which caused the carbon monoxide poisoning and the brain injuries and the brain injury within my son who was unborn at the time that this happened. I gave birth while suffering from it. So we both acquired brain injuries from it. I would have never been in that building. The reason I was even there in the first place was rebuilding from the 2013 escapade that my mother had created. I was already done working for other people. I had already been 100% self-employed for a long time. At no point should I have ever been back in the restaurant and bar industry. I should have never been, even though it was only supposed to be temporary, it was supposed to be 10 weeks. I should have never even been in there at all. It's literally 100% due to the crimes and harassment. All of these problems have come out of it. And then going forward, I then became permanently disabled over that situation, becoming injured even further, to the point of no return, where then I spent 3 years near death fighting to stay alive, with no quality of life whatsoever, in extreme physical distress, with a child suffering from the same. And it's literally been the cause of all this. So every step of the way, I've built all of this by myself and owned all these homes by myself every step of the way from the time I was 18. At the same time, here's my mother using all these different police officers, all these agencies, all these different people, all these people with some type of power, whether it's like within the community or within some type of agency, using all these people every step of the way to help harass me and cause financial wipeouts, causing me to be completely wiped out, drop down to the bottom, and start all over from nothing, over and over and over. So this has happened 3 times, 3 solid times. I've been wiped out down to nothing from age 18 to the current day. And 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I had to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which is the outcome of the last batch of crimes, with my mother calling, getting my hotel cut off during the gas leak, forcing me from my home, the tenants causing the damage in 12 months flat. And in this home that I already was done remodeling, was almost done being completely remodeled so I can make my next moves with my next property. And all of this was caused from that last escapade. There shouldn't have been a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. There shouldn't have been tenants in the home. And really, we shouldn't have been removed from our hotel. Either way you look at it, that tenant threw away about $18,000 in insurance checks, and the post office was trying to arrest me, trying to act like I did something wrong. And also the police department allowed her to do this and refused to take a report, and then again threatened to arrest me falsely, said he's waiting to do so. They're going to come back and arrest me falsely again. And then did not want to take a report on the criminal negligence portion of it either. No matter how you look at it, her throwing away the $18,000 in insurance checks and getting away with that was the breaking point of causing the Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So no, I should not be under Chapter 13 bankruptcy either. Every problem, literally every restart, every problem was caused by the harassment and the crimes all this time. So, all these people with all this power who have helped my mother every step of the way, this is an entire group of people who have taken bribery payments from my mother, who has gotten these payments from a trust fund that belongs to me, which she's fraudulently accessed at some point using my older 2 kids to do this, by presenting to others that she has always had custody of and raised those kids, which has never been true. Those are delusions. And managed to get the attorney's office who's holding the trust to fork over some of this money fraudulently. Now, all these people who have helped her, she has made bribery payments to along the way, some of these people. And these people have been harassing me nonstop for over 25 years at this point, nonstop. Now, you're harassing a single mother who is very hardworking, not on assistance, not on Section 8, owning their own home, owning more than one home, and was building an empire, should own like 6 or 7 houses in the current day. And at the same time, financially wiping me out every step of the way, having to rebuild from nothing. And then eventually this all led to me and my youngest child having an extreme injury, being left without treatment in an extreme medical emergency within the traditional hospital system, because my mother was their employee and prevented our treatment intentionally. Her intention was to cause our death, so she would then be able to gain access to the remaining portion of this trust fund. caused all of these problems every step of the way. I am one single individual, one single mother without help from anybody, with minimal child support from time to time throughout this entire time, or zero at all, and literally building everything on my own. Yet there's an entire group of people who have been criminally harassing me, wiping me out repeatedly, helping commit these crimes against me, thinking it's funny. Each person involved thinks that this is funny. Each of them believed I was really some piece of shit because that's what she told them. No one ever took the time to look into me. Nobody ever took the time to find out what I really have going on in my life, what I've really been doing all these years. So now you've got at least 15 to 20 people who've been involved in repeatedly wiping me out. I'm one person. And she's managed to get 15 to 20 people locally to repeatedly harass me, or agencies, repeatedly harass me, cause problems in my life, cause financial wipeouts, and additional problems along the way. So now it's been 25 years, over 25 years, that this has caused all of these problems in my life. And I'm operating and building success, building wealth as a single individual this entire time as a single mother. Initially, I had 2 small children. And now I have 3 because I had another one when my youngest was 11. So now my youngest is now 9, and then my daughter's 20 and my son's 23. So all of these people spent all this time harassing me and wiping me out financially, laughing at whatever delusions my mother told them about my circumstances or whatever she was saying about me. Because each person seemed to think this is a joke, or seemed to think that this is funny, or my life's a joke, or I'm just some piece of shit. Here she's been lying to all these people every step of the way. And all of these people have gone against one person to harass them intentionally, commit crimes against them intentionally, and continuously wipe me out financially. That is what these people have done. And they've done this repeatedly. And this is still attempting to be done some more in the current day. But because I'm dealing with so much fallout from all the previous ongoing crimes that have never stopped, there isn't an in for anybody to come in and create more catastrophic events, because I am stuck picking up all of the pieces from the most recent batch of crimes and escapades that there isn't even room for someone to have an in to cause further destruction. But it is still being attempted. So while our nation is in crisis and all these single mothers are crying about their food stamps and, the Section 8 or whatever's going on, here I've built everything on my own, lost numerous homes, which I should have never lost any. Always had a very good paying job from the time I was 16 years old, gainfully employed, building success from that point forward, but had been working even longer. Done all of this on my own. Had a catastrophic injury, a permanent injury, which resulted in permanent disability for myself and my younger son. And here I am still paying for everything out of my pocket, still no help from anybody, still no compensation in any which direction. The company who caused the injury initially, I've lost over $1.1 million just from that incident, and the lost wages, the medical out of pocket, what it costs to keep us alive, what it's going to cost for the rest of our lives to keep us alive, because we require ongoing treatment to keep us alive for the rest of our lives. That situation alone cost me over $1.1 million that company is directly responsible for. But all of these people along the way have agreed to continue harassing me, inserting themselves in my life, committing crimes against me, causing all these problems. When here I've been building success from the time I was a teenager, had all these wipeouts, had a catastrophic injury, permanently disabled, with a child that's permanently disabled, don't receive Social Security because it's not enough to rebuild anything with, will be dead in a few months if that's the route I was going to take. There isn't enough to provide or build going forward off of that with the treatment that we require to stay alive. So all of this has gone on due to these crimes. You've wiped out one single person, one single mother who has done everything on their own, built success on their own, and don't receive assistance. I don't even receive Medicaid. I have real insurance that I have to pay co-pays and a deductible with every year. I have actual insurance. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form receiving any assistance in any which direction. And all of these people seem to think that they're better than me. All these people who have committed all these crimes against me, participated in wiping me out, causing all these problems in my life, but they all seem to think that they're better than me when I'm 100% self-made, self-built, been building all these years, had to rebuild, have a catastrophic injury, be left permanently disabled for the rest of my life, still not receiving anything from anyone. And these people, many of which are police officers, have helped participate in these crimes against me and think it's funny to continuously wipe me out. What's even funnier is, since they're so much better than me, and they think that their lives matter more than mine, or that they should all have access fraudulently to this trust fund that's been stolen from me, because they believed a bunch of delusions about me and didn't want to look into who I am as a person or what I've been building all these years, just believe I was some mental disorder drug addict running the streets, nowhere to be found. And they all think that it's funny to do this to one person, one single mother, a single mother who does not receive assistance of any kind, no compensation for the injuries whatsoever at any point during this, paid out of pocket to keep us alive, almost 200 grand out of pocket, did all of this by myself after I rebuilt, and am still attempting to rebuild with what I have left after the most recent round of escapades and crimes, still attempting to rebuild off of what I was left with the day I became injured. Because where I am today, there's no way for me to rebuild the way I did all those other times. I don't have the capacity. I'm permanently injured. There's a lot of times I cannot leave home. So I am very limited on rebuilding and producing income. It's not going to be the way I did all those other years, all those other wipeouts and restarts. It's not going to be anything like that. I'm still attempting to rebuild off of everything I was left with the day I became injured in 2018, and it became permanent in 2018. I'm left rebuilding off of that and trying to continue to make it all flow with what I had left. So the fact that all these people participated in this amount of crimes against me and have gotten away with it and think that my life's a joke, or they're better than me, or this is all really funny to them, these people are sick. These people are sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists. They're all types of things. Each person can be diagnosed with something. But the fact that 15 to 20 people have been harassing me nonstop to intentionally cause financial wipeouts, wiping me out from the wealth and the success that I've been building for over 25 years, and think that this shit is hilarious. But why did it take 15 or 20 of you to go against one person? One person that's not receiving any help from any which direction and hasn't at any point during this. That is sick. Those are several mental disorders over again. That is sick. So, the trust fund still needs to be turned over to me. It is still missing. It is still stolen. These people are still attempting to gain access to what is left, with my mother at the root, directing them on all what to do. And they've caused all these problems, which has led to my permanent disability, has led to the chronic condition. It's changed the outcome of our futures, of our lives. We still don't live with much quality of life. We don't have full quality of life. We're never going to. Now, what I'm more concerned about is how long I was stuck in an extreme amount of pain and suffering without 1 minute of relief for 3 years on end before there was 1 day of relief. Even then, it's not, oh, okay, everything's fine. No, there's all these factors involved going forward with where we're left at and the exposures we have, and treating the initial medical emergency still, along with any additional exposures. There's all these problems going forward. We still don't have quality of life. And all these people have been still harassing me all during this. It's never stopped. In fact, once I became permanently injured in 2018, my mother then made it her full-time job to make sure I would be taken out. She then went 10 times harder than she already was when she found out I was already not naturally, because it's not a natural event, when I already accidentally became near death because of somebody else's negligence. She then jumped on board and worked even harder to make sure that I would be taken out. So the fact that all this has gone on to this degree, and all of these people have created all these problems and left me in the predicament that I've been left in all this time, when if I was never disrupted from day one, I would legit be a millionaire. I would be sitting on $3 to $5 million currently between my different assets and money in the bank. I would currently be sitting on 3 to 5 million. And the only reason I'm not is 100% due to these people's crimes who are operating at the direction of my deranged mother. That is sick that it's gotten that far and nobody actually looked into what I've achieved along the way, what I've been doing, what I've built all on my own. And I don't just not have help. I have all these people working against me, committing crimes against me and getting away with it, and think that it's funny to disrupt somebody's income, wipe it out completely, wipe out all their assets completely, force from different homes, homes that I've owned. That's insane. Who does that? Who spends that much time and energy destroying somebody else's life? So that's what I'm left with. So now it's 2025. I've been permanently injured for 7.5 years now. So I can only do so much within a day. I can only carry out so many tasks. And then at the same time, I'm still picking up the pieces from all the chaos and the last catastrophic event and the last escapade, all of what happened a couple of years ago. I'm picking up the pieces of all that still today. And because my mother's been involved with creating so many additional problems once I became injured in 2018, that created so much more catastrophic fallout because she used that time to manipulate my two older kids against me so that we would not be a team, making them believe delusions about me. The delusions still come out of their mouth to this day. What comes out of their mouths cannot be believed. They're not even comprehending that she has programmed them and brainwashed them from the time they were small children and has been repeating delusions in their presence for many years. And they're not in reality about who I am as a person and what I've been doing all these years. Not only that, but my son was extra manipulated because his other side of the family, they were also very jealous. And that family also manipulated him and brainwashed him. And because he has high functioning autism, he was believing he's still his mind is not in the right place regarding reality. Same with my daughter. She's also not in reality. Doesn't matter that they're adults. They were manipulated to not work with me. I had planned over 20 years ago that they were to build with me. They were to build on top of me, and we would all be millionaires. But they were manipulated out of a good life. And my mother did that intentionally because she wants to make sure that I don't have a support system. That has always been one of her bottom lines, is making sure that I don't have a support system and turning people against me. And that's been going on for decades as well. So she managed to succeed doing that with my older two kids. That's why she's not allowed to have a relationship with my youngest. She's never been allowed to be around him. That's exactly why. And now you have our country in crisis, which it also was during COVID. My injury was going on very heavily during COVID as well. And it was COVID that provided me the income to treat every day and get a little bit of rest and recovery, even though I wasn't resting and recovering because this was an inpatient injury being treated on an outpatient basis. Now there's a different set of circumstances going on within our country. And these people are still attempting to harass me, wipe me out, cause all these problems in my life. And the fact that I've been through everything that I've been through and haven't received $1 in compensation and don't receive assistance or child support, and that's what these people are busy doing. That's what these people are busy doing, harassing one woman, one single individual who's been a single mother for over 20 years, causing all these problems. That's what this group of people is still busy doing today. And now we have another event going on in our country where it is going to cause a lot of problems. And I don't even fall into the category of receiving any of these benefits or any of this assistance, still building success on my own, building wealth on my own, struggling to hold what I have left together and continue carrying out everything I already was doing a long time ago, because that's my only way out. I don't get to go back and work for somebody else. I'm too far gone. I'm too injured. I've worked over 20 years. Before my injury, I had already spent 20 hardworking years in the workforce prior to my injury, and then struggled on being self-employed another 7 years from that point, and still struggling along to carry out all my initial plans. Although they do have to shift, it has to shift into where I'm shifting into now should have already been carried out 10 years ago. but I had to keep rebuilding and restarting because of all the wipeouts and the harassment. But currently, here I am trying to carry all of that out to be able to build forward, because I can only be self-employed going forward. And this is what these people are busy doing. That's what's going on in our country. I'm not receiving any of those benefits or help from anybody. I receive nothing but harassment from government entities and people and agencies, and people who work for these agencies. Anyone who my mother enlists to help her, anyone who's willing to take a bribe. That's what I'm dealing with. All of these people are continuing to do this while our community is in an emergency, or while our country is in an emergency. And that's what these people are busy doing to me. All behind the scenes, still attempting to lock me up in prison, still writing fake police reports, concocting false charges, and all types of stuff along the way. I haven't even scratched the surface of a lot of what I have to say. I will get more into some of this in the future videos. But that's what these people have been doing to me while all this is going on. And here I am struggling to hold on to everything I have left, knowing that I don't have the ability to rebuild or go back and work for somebody else the way I built everything initially and built to each stage along the way. I don't have the ability to do that. I don't even have the ability to remain self-employed in the manner in which I did those 7 years that I struggled along, because along the way, I also had several more additional brain injuries. And again, left with no treatment within the traditional medical system. So that furthered the already existing problem, and took me out at a more, at a further degree. And I was like permanently incapacitated for a while, about 3 years there. And then after COVID, because I had received so much treatment during that time, like I think it was a total of over $1 million in billed treatments between what my private insurance paid and the couple $100,000 I spent out of pocket. But it took all those years and all those daily treatments to get me to a place where I then struggled to work several more years after COVID, to keep everything flowing, attempting to finish carrying out what I had the plans I had in place 2 decades ago, attempting to try to pick up the pieces and carry that out after COVID. But then I had some additional brain injuries, so it further wiped me out to the point where I couldn't hold on any longer doing what I was doing. I was barely holding on. I was barely working, just very, very minimally, way less than 20 hours a week. I think maybe 15 tops. It never got to be more than 15. And it was only because I can control when I would be there, or how long I'd be there, or when. That was the only reason I was able to carry that out. And that type of money is only available in select places. It's not just available anywhere. So I was making very large sums of money in very short periods of time. That's how I managed to hold on to everything all during this. But where I am now, because I've had all these additional injuries and all of this additional fallout from these last batches of escapades and crimes, that in order to continue building forward and keep us alive and carry everything out, I have to focus on picking up the pieces of all the disaster from everything that's gone on, and the $100,000 in damage to my home. That all has to be focused on so I can build forward. And with the amount of work that still has to be done, with the extreme nature and the fallout of my injuries, and then repeatedly being left untreated within the hospital system, also crimes. Those are also due to my mother's ongoing crimes and her as their employee working in the medical system initially, even though she's been retired. The damage is done. The false information is in our medical file. All of this has been going on, and this is my only way out. But all of these people have continued to harass me every step of the way and seem to think that this is funny. After I've already lost everything I worked for, built to a pretty high degree, lost everything I worked for, and at the root, here my mother was causing all of it, and all these large agencies and people who helped her, and that's what's still going on in the current day. This is what these people are busy doing, going against one person, spending your life, making it a full-time job for all of these people to harass one single mother who's permanently disabled and sick and paid everything out of pocket to stay alive in a medical emergency that should have been treated within the hospital system. That's what these people are busy doing. And that's what they're still attempting to carry out. That is sick. These people are fucking sick. And at the same time, I'm still owed this trust fund. That money belongs in my pocket immediately. If I had that money, I would be able to change the world. I would be able to change so many lives, like almost immediately. I'd say within 6 months, I would begin to be able to start changing many people's lives. So that's disgusting what these people have been doing to me. all these officials in the local area, all these agencies who've participated in these crimes. And that's what these people are busy doing. While our economy is crashing and all of humanity is crashing and there's all these problems out here, and I managed to struggle and hold on and take care of myself and my kids every step of the way by myself while all this is going on, not receiving any assistance while all this is going on. And that's what these people are busy doing. They are focused on wiping me out, still attempting to gain access to the rest of this trust fund, which they feel entitled to for some reason. But I guarantee you that I've worked harder than all of these people, because I saw wealth building and how to do it from being a teenager and working from the ground up. I've never made minimum wage. I've always had numerous streams of income. From the time I was about 14 years old on, 14 to 15 years old, I've always had numerous streams of income. I saw the bigger picture. I saw how to do it. I saw how to carry it out. At that time, I just didn't know how long it would take, but I knew where I was going with it and how to get there and what I was doing. But nothing's ever been able to be carried out because I have a deranged lunatic and many high-level officials in the local area and many agencies helping her wipe me out repeatedly. That's what these people are focused on. They don't have anything better to do with their time. How about you put that amount of energy and time into yourself and, do something for yourself to get yourself a little further ahead? The reality is, most likely, I'm ahead of all these people in life after everything I've been through with what I've built, what I've provided, and the last steps that I'm carrying out, where I'm taking things to. I've already built further than where all of these people who've been in the crimes and the harassment against me built further than those people. And I'm much younger than those people, a lot of them. And I built further than them on my own after being repeatedly wiped out. But they seem to think that they're better than me and they should have access to the money that belongs to me, all on delusions, lies, and crimes. That makes no sense. So all of these people seem to think that they were much smarter than me, or they should just have this money because they spent 10 years in college or 20 years in college, and they're just better than me because I'm wrong because they went to college longer than me. When here I'm telling you that I saw the bigger picture of how the world works and how to build forward ahead of all that, not live in the matrix, jump all over all the hoops that were in the middle and come out on the end. And I've been working and building longer than these people. And they seem to think I'm just some piece of shit when I'm actually ahead of them in life. Or if I'm not, I would have been if I wasn't wiped out. And even if I'm not, once I have things in order and the next moves are made, I will be. So that makes no sense why they're able to carry out all these crimes against me. The harassment's still ongoing. These people are delusional as fuck. And the fact that it took 15 to 20 people to harass one person repeatedly over and over and over and over, cause all these problems in one person's life who's minding their own business, building their own success, 100% self-made, self-built. None of these people are self-made, self-built anything. They've all made their money working for other people or getting brainwashed within the school system and believing, oh, hey, because they went to this college told them this is how the world works and this is how you be successful. Then they're dumb enough to believe that that's how it works. But then you spend the next 20, 30, 40 years paying back 100 grand, 200 grand in student loans. Not how you build success. That's not how you build wealth. I've literally been building it from the time I was a teenager. And at no time was I ever indebted working backwards. Because what a lot of these people did in their lives was they spent a lot of years working backwards to come out and come out the other end and still be working backwards for many, many years. I've never been in that position. I've only been building forward, building success literally the whole time. That's what these people are focused on about me. So yeah, the trust fund does need to be returned to me ASAP. I am doing numerous things at once. I have quite a few projects going on at one time. That's why my videos are kind of spaced apart at the moment. But once I get the next few stages done, I'm very close to having things where I need them to be so I can carry out the next steps. But at the same time, this has been a very lengthy process and I'm only able to do so much within a day. And some days I am still incapacitated and there's just so much to what I've had going on. I can't really control the flow of keeping a flow of everything being taken care of and the pieces getting picked up. I don't really get to control it because of the manner in which it all happened. It is being addressed. It is being taken care of. It's just I'm not able to control the flow of all of that. So I am very close to being done. So hopefully hopefully it's all finished up soon. But I am going to come back and do another video on the whole EBT, Medicaid getting cut off, and what's going to happen going forward, because I can also predict the future. So I'll be back with more on that. Thanks. Bye.